Tonight, a major deal struck with SRG Global and GFG Alliance and Port Pirie's lead smelter causing an international price hike.
With the latest from around the region, your nightly news with Louise Hedger begins now.
Good evening. A major long-term contract between SRG Global and GFG Alliance has been signed with a $45 million deal now underway. It will involve 30 SRG workers replacing the wear lining inside the kilns at the Whyalla Steelworks.
Another step forward for GFG Alliance, SRG Global will be contracted at the Whyalla Steelworks for an initial 4 years with an option to further their stay by 2 years.
Put in an enormous amount of effort, probably for the best part of 6 months in terms of building a relationship with the clients.
They'll have 20 to 30 staff on site with hopes to increase those numbers to up to 60 workers.
That workforce will expand when there's various shutdown or large project type maintenance activity.
SRG will be involved in the refractory work, specialising in bricklaying and replacing wear lining inside the kilns.
Cover our pelletising, iron making, steel making and steel products operations. And this work will also complement the services that they have undertaken for us at our mining operations for a number of years.
An expected revenue of around $45 million over the 6-year term or $30 million over the initial 4-year term.
Been impressed with the capability and performance of SRG Global's refractory services in recent months, and so that's why they've been awarded this long-term contract.
Mr Williamson says the company is pleased, deeming it to be a step forward for local jobs in Whyalla.
Our local workforce, who are primarily residential Whyalla people, high quality people that have done a really good job to date.
Shari Hams, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
A malfunction at Nearstars Port Pirie's lead smelter has caused an unexpected shutdown. The halt's in production, creating a rise in global lead prices. Dominic Beaton has the details.
On the 28th of May, the switch was pulled on Port Pirie's lead smelter's blast furnace, following delays from a steam eruption in the refinery. The unexpected shutdown has caused a domino effect and international consequences, global lead prices reaching a monthly high. Asian traders say Friday that a halt in supply has prompted a rise in prices, from $1,881 per metric tonne to $1,945. Nearstar declaring force majeure in a report, saying the unplanned shutdown will have a material negative impact on production at Port Pirie. Jeff Brock, a former smelter worker, has attributed the shutdown to teething problems.
It's like a farmer getting a new header. You take delivery of it as you're moving along. There's always teething problems, as with cars and so forth.
He says errors are to be expected at the newly built $660 million facility, due to the plant's unique position of being the first of its kind in the world.
We need to also understand that this plant was brought up, they've been trying to get this plant up and running in a shorter period than normal.
The site experienced a 38-day shutdown last year to reduce lead in the air emissions, which was attributed to a 7% fall in annual output. Nearstar says it expects production to resume by the end of June.
The Broken Hill Hospital's emergency department has seen a sharp increase of patients in the first quarter of 2019. A report from the Bureau of Health Information reveals more than 5,000 patients attended the department, an almost 3% jump compared with last year. All hospitals across New South Wales saw similar spikes in patient numbers, with an early start to the flu season believed to be the cause. Broken Hill Hospital's processing times were well above state averages. The newly appointed Agriculture Minister Bridget McKenzie visited Port Lincoln today, meeting with several seafood producers. It's part of the minister's tour of South Australia to better understand the issues affecting farmers.
On a mission to better understand Australia's farming industry, 2 weeks into her new role, Agriculture Minister Bridget McKenzie is wasting no time getting to work.
Fundamentally, as a government, that when regional Australia is prosperous, the whole of Australia is prosperous.
The minister arriving in Port Lincoln this morning to meet with local prawn and oyster farmers, listening to the concerns around shortages in workforce.
Making sure they can get the skilled workforce they need when they need it is an issue. Also, the importance of research and development.
Minister McKenzie aims to grow Australia's $60 billion agriculture industry to $100 billion by 2030. The government focusing on opening up global trade, bringing an economic boost for the region.
In Grey, we have a very big agricultural industry, wine grape industry, and of course a fishing and aquaculture industry.
Despite the recent wet weather, many farmers in the region are still struggling to cope with the ongoing drought. The minister says the government is already delivering drought relief plans to the tune of $6 billion.
Often with drought, it is not just farmers that are doing it tough. As the drought extends, it is our small towns and country regional centres that also then need support.
The minister will fly to Adelaide tonight to meet with the state government. Nathan Rector, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Member for Parks Mark Coulton has made his first visit to Broken Hill since being re-elected. Although he's been given a new role in the federal cabinet, he says that won't prevent him from stopping by.
Walking the streets and getting back to work. Mark Coulton visiting the Silver City for the first time since the MP won his seat of Parks quite comfortably at the recent federal election. Today meeting with the Broken Hill City Council.
Make sure that we completely understand what the priorities for the city are, so I understand what their plans are. We can work out what we think we can achieve.
He's wearing a new title, now the Minister for Regional Services, Decentralisation and Local Government. When it comes to decentralisation, Mr Coulton says it's about enticing those who live in the cities to move to regional communities.
Broken Hill's a classic case of that, where there's wonderful opportunity, great education facilities, great health facilities, and we've just somehow got to break down that mental barrier that people have about relocating here.
His portfolio also contains regional services, a responsibility he's eager to take on.
Health, education, communications. It's a big deal at the moment with the rollout of the NBN in town. So there's plenty of issues to get my teeth into.
With the new ministerial role, Mr Coulton says it'll be tough to manage his time, but he says his main focus will always be on the electorate that voted him in.
Certainly my primary job is the member for Parks. My primary job is to look after this electorate. That comes first and other things come after that.
Patrick Ryanke, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
A Kadena couple has been arrested after allegedly stealing a jet ski from a shack near Wallaroo. Last Wednesday afternoon, police say they located the 35-year-old man and 28-year-old woman towing the stolen property in scrubland near Kadena. The pair has been charged with criminal trespass and theft. They were refused bail and are due to appear in the Kadena Magistrates Court at a later date. An Airlie Peninsula man has been arrested for allegedly distributing child exploitation material and failing to comply with his reporting obligations. A joint investigation led by South Australia's Special Crimes Unit led to the arrest of the 42-year-old man last Friday. The man was granted bail and is due to appear in the Port Lincoln Magistrates Court next week. Anyone with information about people involved in child exploitation are urged to contact Crimestoppers. Still to come tonight, we introduce you to the newest residents at the Whyalla Zoo. And take one, budding Broken Hill filmmakers are urged to enter the local film festival. Welcome back. The Ayr Reptile and Wildlife Park in Whyalla is welcoming some native residents this week. The owners have been working hard to get the site running following its reopening last year.
Exciting new arrivals ruffling some feathers. Young owls joining the park, and this passionate family are eager to share them with the Whyalla community.
Southern boobook, one masked owl and one barn owl.
The barn owl and boobock were brought to the park as rescue animals, giving these birds a new lease on life.
One with a fractured wing and one that was had been reared by a member of the general public who couldn't retain it.
The reopening of the park for the first time in 16 years proving popular for local visitors and school groups, and that's not the only other residents snapped up in recent months.
A 7-year-old saltwater crocodile and about an 8-9-year-old freshwater crocodile.
Conditions to suit a croc have been arranged, especially important throughout the South Australian cooler months.
The crocodile's water sits between 27 and 30 degrees at all times, so they can constantly keep a nice body temperature so they don't get too cold.
There's a particular focus on native Australian animals in the park, with some new arrivals planned for next year.
We've got a few other little bits and pieces coming, but yeah, we're just slowly working on enclosures and getting everything up ready to go.
The park welcomes any volunteers interested in joining, and they say it's an opportunity to get your hands dirty.
We really need the community support to be able to stay open and to provide this service for the whole community. We also do a lot for the schools, so it does benefit a wide variety of areas.
Shari Hams, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Tumby Bay residents are being warned to take extra care on local beaches, with sightings of blue-bottle jellyfish reported. Blue bottles are usually found in the eastern states during summer, but can be found all around Australia. Their sting can be dangerous to children and elderly people and can cause fever, shock and respiratory distress. The council is urging residents to be mindful and to stay safe while on the beach. Broken Hill's budding filmmakers are being encouraged to get their entries in for the annual Perfect Light Film Festival. Organisers say the event's open to every skill level.
Get an idea, grab a camera and start filming.
It's looking fantastic. Preparations are well underway and we've got some great things happening this year.
The Perfect Light Film Festival is back for its 3rd screening, pencilled in for the first weekend of November. The event sees local, national and international filmmakers converge on the city to show their creations. The 3-day festival's main event is the Saturday night screening of the films in Sturt Park. Entries are now open for this year's competition. Organisers excited to see what comes in.
Anyone can submit a film, 8 minutes or under. There's $1 grand up for grabs for the first prize. Second is $500 and third is $250.
And you don't have to be a big budget production to enter. A little tripod, a phone camera and a quality microphone is enough to get started. Mr. Bastoni says there's free editing software online that can help you put your film together. Entries close at the end of October.
And we try and drum up a bit of interest and communicate that thought that you don't have to be a pro, you don't have to have expensive equipment, just get out there and have a go.
Local filmmaker and actress Jessica Burns says she can't wait to see what the city puts up.
It creates a space where creatives can get together, showcase their work, tell stories and connect with audiences.
A panel of celebrity judges will vote on the winning entries, and a filmmaking workshop will also be ran across the festival weekend. Patrick Reinke, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
National Resources Airlie Peninsula is calling for volunteers for a microplastics training day in Whyalla during Cuddlefest. Industry professionals will educate participants on the consequences of ocean pollution in our regions. They're urging teachers and community leaders to get involved, with at least 15 people needed to proceed with the training. For those interested, more information can be found on the organisation's website. Wellbeing group The Resilience Project has made a special visit to Port Broughton Area School. Motivational speakers giving students and parents a unique lesson on embracing happiness.
Teaching students the secret to happiness. Mental health group The Resilience Project engaging students from Butte and Port Broughton Area School.
It teaches people the evidence-based strategies that help you to feel happier and to experience better mental health.
The group's founding director says he was enlightened during a trip to northern India.
Couldn't believe how simple their strategies were to be happier. They practice gratitude, they practice empathy, they practice mindfulness.
And now he's sharing his knowledge with corporations, AFL clubs and more than 500 schools Australia-wide. Hugh impressed with the students' enthusiasm at his Port Broughton workshop.
It's meant to be more of a presentation, not really an interactive thing. The kids here were very, very involved, which made it very, very exciting.
The students taking home some valuable life lessons. Now adapting the same resilience training as football great Dustin Martin.
Just use the 3 tips every day, like Dusty Martin has done like heaps.
If you have gratitude, you're grateful for what you got and you're not always wanting more.
Dominic Beaton, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Stay with us after the break. We'll have fuel prices from across the region and Brit will have the weather. Hello again. Let's take a look at this week's fuel prices. Here's Pat in Broken Hill.
Well, as winter arrives and temperatures start to drop, petrol prices are also on the way down. Starting with unleaded and get a look at all those lovely green arrows. The entire Spencer Gulf has seen reductions in its fuel prices. Port Lincoln is down 3 cents to an even 1.50. Whyalla has ticked into the 1.30s and could go even further. Port Augusta is the best performer by far. Local service stations are selling it there for about 1.41, 7 cents less than last week. Kadena is down by 2 cents, while in Broken Hill it's back into the 1.40s with a 1 cent decline. Adelaide cycle is reaching its end. The SA capital is hovering in the low 120s. Turning over to diesel now, and the green keeps on coming. Port Lincoln is on 1.59, while Port Augusta and Kadena have all dropped a cent and are on 1.49. Port Pirie is the only one to break even this week. Broken Hill has seen a little bit of movement, but is still on 1.57. Adelaide rounds out the board at $1.45 a litre. Finishing off with a quick look at Autogas, and it's been a very quiet week. Port Lincoln, Whyalla and Port Augusta are all even Steven. Port Pirie is now the cheapest in the Gulf at 88 cents. Kadena not far behind on 89. Broken Hill is averaging 91, while down in Adelaide, city motorists are paying about 82 cents. Now, of course, remember that these prices are the regional averages and they do not reflect any one particular outlet. And if you do find a spot that does sell unleaded, auto gas or diesel for cheaper, be sure to let us know on our Facebook page.
A massive downpour has drenched much of South Australia over the past 24 hours, with some towns recording up to 50 millimetres of rain. Most of the wet weather was towards Whyalla and Port Augusta, while Udunda recorded 20 millimetres, the biggest downpour the town's had since 2016.
The next 7 days or so, we forecast a series of fronts crossing the coastal areas, and as a result, the southern parts of the Airlie Peninsula will receive good rainfall.
South Australian authorities are issuing warnings for sheep graziers and inland flooding, while Victoria's declared a statewide warning ahead of gale force winds, which are expected to reach up to 100 kilometres an hour. And for more weather, here's Brit with all the details.
Thanks, Louise. Well, as you've mentioned, we've seen quite a bit of wet weather across the region today. Broken Hill with a top of 21 degrees. It reached 18 at Port Augusta, Whyalla and Port Lincoln, and 17 at Port Pirie and Adelaide. Looking to the satellite now with a series of cold fronts crossing parts of South Australia. These will continue through to the weekend. On the waters tomorrow, northwesterly winds at up to 15 knots with seas at 1.5 metres, and we'll see the sun rise at about 7:20 in the morning. Tomorrow, showers across most of the region, morning fog at Coulton and Port Augusta, heavier falls expected at Port Lincoln. Port Augusta with a top of 19, Whyalla, Coffin Bay and Woodner 18, Port Lincoln, Broken Hill, Port Pirie, Cleve and Kadena all 17, Coulton and Adelaide 16, Clare with a max of 13 degrees. Looking ahead now to the weekend, with showers expected to continue at Port Lincoln, maximum temps sitting in the mid to late teens, Cleve tops of 17 through till Sunday, looking fine and partly cloudy, Woodner fine and 19 Friday and Saturday. Whyalla and Port Augusta both looking partly cloudy through the remainder of the week with maximums in the late teens, Kadena expecting showers on Friday ahead of a fine weekend. Showers continuing into the weekend at Port Pirie, Clare expecting showers Friday and Sunday, and Broken Hill looking fine and partly cloudy through the rest of the week. And with that, Louise, it's back to you.
Great, thank you for that, Brit. And that's your local news this Wednesday. Thanks for joining us today. We'll have updates later, but until then, enjoy your evening. Good night.